Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. My name is Shonda Harris, and I'm a business opportunity specialist with the Columbus Small Business Administration. And we'd like to welcome you to today's webinar. So, you want to do business with the government, part two, with the focus on technical considerations for government contracting. And we are really excited to be kicking off this new calendar year by bringing this series to you. If you joined us last week, thank you for coming back. We did part one last week, and this is part two. And we're really excited about bringing just more tips and knowledge to assist you in your journey with doing business with the federal government. Today's webinar is in collaboration with the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University, and we are excited to always partner with them to bring this government contracting series to you each year. So today's session is actually going to be presented by the Cincinnati procurement specialist, Miss Danielle Peterman. So again, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Danielle. If you do have any questions, again, if you can put those in the chat, and then we'll pose those to Danielle at some point during her presentation, and then we will allow her to answer your questions. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Danielle, and we will go ahead and get started. Danielle,
Great.
take it
Thank you,
away.
Shonda.
You're welcome.
I was going to say the way that I kind of set this up, I have it's basically broken into three parts. So at the end of every part, I've gone ahead and put a slide in to kind of catch some questions about that specific topic so that everybody doesn't have to remember about the one topic all the way to the end. So I figured that might break up our day a little bit better that way. So I'll go ahead and kick off. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the meeting today. And again, I'm Danielle Peterman. I am the Cincinnati procurement specialist. I work with the 5 counties surrounding Cincinnati, Hamilton, Warren, Butler, Claremont, and Clinton. And if you live in one of those companies, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you. And we'll get this show started. Let's see here. So, why procurement readiness matters. So, you have to be prepared. I know that this seems kind of almost a duh statement, but it's just going to be easier when you have everything that you need ready to work with the government or the prime contractors that you have decided to team with. Capability statements are a huge part of that. They act as kind of a resume for your business. And then improving your competitiveness is going to be covered by taking part in CMMC preparedness, getting your cyber hygiene ready, joint ventures where you can partner with other small businesses to become more competitive. And then our Mentor Protege program that is also run by the Small Business Administration, where you can get an already approved mentor for your small business and you can partner with them to gain access to their oh, words are going to be bad today, I can tell. They will help you get into bigger markets. They can help you learn some of the things that you might not have learned already. And those are going to be the things that we kind of go over today. So we're going to start with capability statements. Again, a capability statement is basically a resume or a print version of your elevator pitch that you're going to give to contracting officers, agency representatives when you are at matchmakers and networking events. You are always also going to potentially submit that as part of your response to the government for any solicitations. They don't all ask for a capability statement, but it is quite common for you to be asked to include one with your solicitation response. So a strong capability statement, these are your basics. You want to call it a capability statement, and you're going to have four main parts. The first part is going to be your core competencies. Then you're going to have your past performance, what your company has done in the past. You're going to have some differentiators. Those are going to be what sets you apart. And then you're going to have your basic contact information, your government contact, those people that, and that data like your SAM registration numbers, any certifications you might hold. Side note on certifications, do not put when you are just in the process of getting the certification, hold off on putting that on your capability statement until you actually have that certification. All right. So core competencies. Obviously, we want to call the section core competencies. And the reason that we're being so specific on that is many prime contractors are starting to use AI to build databases based on capability statements that they have scanned into their system. So that's something to be thinking about when you create your capability statement, is the fact that it needs to be searchable. And so a lot of these titles you're going to want to have in there for whatever software the company is using to pick up on those keywords. So your core competencies are basically what your company does. You really want to focus on what you excel at. I know a lot of times it's very tempting to get yourself bogged down in 10 to 15 NAICS codes or PSCs. And while that's tempting, I usually try to get people to narrow it down to their top 5, because you really want to be focused on your capability statement. One thing to consider is that you're going to be changing this document for each solicitation you're going to respond to. So you're going to think of it as a living document. You want this to be able to speak to the specific solicitation that you're trying to win. And in that way, it's like your resume. If you're trying for a new job, you're going to focus your experience and all of your skills to show that you're the best for that particular job. And the capability statement is going to be exactly the same. You always want to be brief. You want your capability statement to be a 1 to 2 minute read. That's why you want to stick with one piece of paper. You can go front and back, but if you go front and back, I'm going to encourage you to have some graphics or some infographics so that you can get information really quickly from the capability statement. This is not to say that a plain typed capability statement is bad. It's obviously scannable and people will read it. It's just when you're in a situation at a matchmaker or a conference or a networking opportunity, you're going to want something that they can look at and just pick up that information immediately and then move on to the conversation. So that is going to be what you do with your core competencies. Next up, we have your past performances, and I didn't want to go that way.
I can hear someone's mic. Okay. I think it's
Okay.
done.
So past performance. Past performance is pretty self-explanatory. This is going to be where you list everything that your company has done to date. I know that in general, the government likes you to have at least 2 years of past performance before you start contracting. That is not to say that you cannot contract until you have 2 years of experience. That is just their preferred timeline, especially when you think about the fact that they are fostering our tax dollars to buy things. They want to make sure that the business they're spending those dollars on is one that can accomplish the goal that they have been given. So that past performance really helps let the government know that you are a dependable business that they can depend on with taxpayer dollars. So you want to be brief again with your description of what you've worked with in the past. You want to include any contracts or work that matches what you're trying to do with this solicitation. And If your work does not pertain to the opportunity, don't include it. So differentiators. This is really the section that most people struggle with. It really is what sets you apart from your competition. And on the side there, we have some examples of great ways to indicate how your business is better or differs from your competition. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide because it's easier really to, oh, nope, I thought I had it. Things that you don't want to include in your differentiators. Outstanding customer service. I tell this to all of my clients. If all of you have outstanding customer service, then everyone just has customer service. It's no longer outstanding, it's the baseline. So instead of saying something like that, you want to look for data-driven or types of information that you can back up. For example, instead of saying outstanding customer service, you might have 24/7 phone line always answered by a human. That's going to be a differentiator. You may have a QA process that you go through at the end of a job with your client to make sure that everything is finished, kind of like a finalized meeting to go over everything that was done. That is a differentiator. If you have data that shows that you have increased decreased process time, increased revenue, or made any kind of savings due to the use of your product or your service, those are huge differentiators. Anytime that you can show an impact on someone's bottom line or an impact on how much they're spending overall, those are going to be huge. So that's kind of what to keep in mind for differentiators. So that is kind of the high level view of a capability statement. I hope that that all made sense, but now I'm going to go ahead and break that open for questions about capability statements.
Hey,
And
Danielle.
you,
There. Oh, sorry, Shonda. I will
go
stop.
ahead.
Okay. Sorry about that. Shonda and I work in the same office, and we had arranged for her to take the questions first.
That's okay.
Sorry. I just saw a couple of questions. Like Ruthie was asking, how many examples of past performance would you recommend on a capability statement? So I think that's a good question to take.
That's a great question.
Yep.
So I would usually recommend, if possible, 4 to 5. And again, if you don't have that specific experience, or I'm sorry, yes, if you don't have that specific experience as a business, but you do have that experience as a person in a job you had prior to forming your business, you can put that. You just have to make sure that it is your skills that you're marketing and not what the previous employer did. But any of those type of nuances, definitely reach out to your local Apex Accelerator specialist, and they will be able to walk you through what kind of past performance you can put on those.
And there was one more asking about the type of paper. If
Also a
glossy
great
paper.
question. The one thing I'm going to say is don't break the bank on this if you don't have to. It is a tool. It is a great tool, but it's not your end all be all tool. So, excuse me. Don't go high printing. I would say probably one step above standard copy paper. So I think copy paper is 20-pound paper. So pretty much any paper that's heavier than that, say 25-pound paper, would probably be good. It would be a little bit more like cardstock and not quite as flimsy. So you might want to go with a little bit heavier paper, but I definitely wouldn't go with cardstock or letterhead paper because that's going to get pretty pricey, especially when you're just going to events and passing them out.
And Danielle, Wanda has a great question. For those that have new businesses, what would you recommend that they could do to get their foot in the door in order to get that 2 years of experience?
That's a great question. Something to think about when you're trying to gain that past performance is stuff that I'm going to be talking about later. You might want to explore the idea of a joint venture with another small business where you all can combine your capabilities. And if the other small business has past performance, then as a joint venture, you both can use that past performance instead of individually. Another thing is the mentor protege program, where you can have a mentor and then you're benefiting from their experience. That will also get your foot in the door. Another recommendation is subcontracting. So there, to toot the horn of the Ohio Apex Accelerator, in April, we're going to be having one of our biggest events. It's the Ohio Small Business Matchmaker. And that is an event that goes for 2 days in April on Wednesday and Thursday, the 22nd and 23rd. There we will have prime contractors. We will also have government agency representatives. And what you can do is you can get in front of those agency representatives, find out exactly what they're looking for, and talk to them and get your name on their minds. Another thing that can happen there is you can meet those prime contractors and see if they're interested in teaming with a business like yours. Because being a subcontractor, that's going to give you government contract past performance without you having to be the prime contractor. So this is another great way to get past performance experience without having to be the prime.
All right, and we have a couple more. Jenny is saying that past performance, well, asking if past performance deals with the type of solicitation. It's not
Yes.
limited to federal government contracting.
That is
Um,
correct. So
okay.
let's say that you did a contract for, I'm going to go with what I know. Let's say that you did a contract for the city of Cincinnati, but now you've seen one for either the state of Ohio or the federal government that you want to pursue that's along those lines. Absolutely use your experience from other types of government, other spaces in the government. You may have done something for one agency and now you'd like to do it for another, and that past performance is perfect. But yes, city and local work, doing the same exact thing you're trying to do for the government or the federal government, is perfect for past performance.
That is a great answer and clarifying that, especially as people are just getting started and they may have that past performance if they've done business locally or with the state. The
Exactly.
next question, Aegon, it just jumped. Um, for Ruthie mentioned for past performance in the slide, she said it mentioned listing contact information. Could you clarify whose contact information should be listed
Yes.
for a particular project?
Great
And then
catch.
also client references, should it be phone, email? What would you recommend?
That's perfect. Those two questions go together. Absolutely great. I would suggest when you are listing companies or government agencies that you've worked for in the past, especially if you're using private experience to go into the government sector, I would give the email address of the person you worked with directly in that contract. So let's say that even if it's a private business or I'm sorry, non-government, yeah, private business. Let's say that you did something for them and you dealt with only one person. That's the person that you're going to want to reference in your past performance. But I have to stress, please get people's permission before putting their information to contact them on your capability statement, because well, it's business courtesy. So you did a great job for them. You know that they will give you a stellar review. Just touch base with them and say, hey, I'm going for another job that's similar to what I did for you. Can I list you as a reference or as part of my past performance so people can reach out? Um, Likewise, I would say if they're willing to give their phone number, you can absolutely put that on your capability statement. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to think that people are going to prefer it's their email. So just always have communication with your customers, other clients, anybody that you want to use their information, just reach out to them and make sure that it's okay. And then it's fine to put it on your capability statement, because anybody's reviews that can help you is great.
All right. Looks like Kara shared her experience regarding past performance, but wanted to ask you if you could chime in a little on this. She mentioned that just from her experience, that a lot of larger companies are looking to joint venture or mentor protege with small businesses that have certifications like WOSB or veteran-owned
Yes.
small business, because it helps them kind of meet their goals or any requirements that they may have for government contracts,
Hmm.
as far as certifications. And they would like to partner with small businesses to go after those small business set asides. Can you add a little bit more insight to that?
Absolutely. And that's very true. So, one of the things that the bigger businesses do is well, partner with small businesses to get access to those set aside contracts, excuse me, um, that are set aside for those specific socioeconomic certifications. So, absolutely, if you have a WASB or if you have an SDVOSB, service disabled veteran owned small business, businesses love to partner with small businesses that have those certifications, because it gives them access to those set aside contracts that they couldn't reach otherwise. Um, the one thing to manage expectations with is if you're thinking of the really much bigger prime contractors like the Lockheeds or the GEs or anything like that, just keep in mind that they have been partnering with small businesses for years, and there's a good chance that they have a stable. So it might be a little bit more difficult to break in with some of the bigger ones. But there is always opportunity for partnering in that case with a big business that can benefit from your socioeconomic certifications. And the same thing goes for state. If you get the state certifications, the women's business entity, veterans business entity, and minority business entity, those will also translate very well into partnering with bigger businesses that may not have access to those set asides.
Great feedback and great questions. Thank you, Danielle. Scott wants to know, where can they find some good examples of capability statements?
That is a great question. So when I'm working with my clients, that's actually one of the things that I do is when I send out my capability statement email, I give them 4 or 5 examples that I have actually found out on the web so that they know kind of what similar competition looks like. Um, as a general rule of thumb, it's pretty easy. You can go out on your internet browser, and I generally do a Google search for the type of business, excuse me, and the words capability statement. Sometimes it's hit or miss depending on your style of business, but um, let's say, as an example, you have a janitorial business and you Google janitorial capability statement. You should come up with several businesses that it just defaults to that have links online to their capability statements. So you should be able to go through and browse and see what's out there. Um, that's another thing up. So it actually ties in perfectly with this. So thanks for that question. Um, you may also want to include when you're going to places that you don't think you want to carry a full-size sheet of paper capability statement, always think about if you have a website, having a QR code on your business card, that if they go to that QR code, it is simply a page with an electronic version of your capability statement. That way, you're cutting down on the paper and the expense of having to print them, but you do have it readily available for anyone with a smartphone. So that's something to think about if you have a web page, just setting aside a specific page for your capability statement so that you can just have people go there and look over your capabilities. And that just feeds right into them contacting you if you have a contact me link associated with that.
Wonderful. And I'm going to put in a plug. Danielle mentioned that she sends out about 4 to 5 different examples of capability statements to her clients, when she's meeting with them, going over that. So if you haven't worked with an Apex Accelerator or you don't know what counselor is close in your area, I'm going to strongly recommend that you join. Will you sign up to be an Apex, to get an Apex counselor? And you become a client if you haven't already done so. And I'm going to ask if you don't mind, Sharon Hopkins, to go ahead and put the link in the chat. The Ohio Apex accelerators are all throughout Ohio, but specifically the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University, I believe covers 66 or 68 of Ohio's 88 counties, and you can find an Apex Accelerator that's closest to you. So if you sign up to become a client, one of the counselors will reach out to you and they can work with you regarding creating your capability statement or even refreshing yours, updating yours. And with that said, we'll go to the next question. Looks like Angela has mentioned that they do residential remodeling and they're looking to get into doing work with the government. And she wants to know, I guess, with their residential remodeling, they get reviews from those that they've done work for. Can she use those reviews and the contact information from that past performance if she were to create a capability statement?
Yes, absolutely. I do not get that. I don't get that question often, but yes, if you have reviews that have been written about your services that are, especially if they're job specific, because again, it's all about whatever solicitation you're going for with the capability statement. But yes, if you have reviews that speak exactly to the job that you're trying for, absolutely put those on your capability statement, especially if they were written in public forums, because in public forums now, whatever they agreed to have published, you can put like their first name and their last initial. So those are fine to put on. You just won't have contact information for them.
Okay, great. And I think we have a couple more questions. We'll try to get through these, and I
Mhm.
think we're going to cut it off with these questions only so that we can move on. I think we have 2 more sections, and we do want to make sure
Yeah,
that we make it through the rest of the presentation. So if you can hold off, if you don't get your question answered as it relates to this, we'll hold off maybe to the very end and see if we have more time, but we don't want to run out of time.
and write them
The
down so you don't forget.
Yes. And because as they keep coming in, we have to continually scroll back.
Exactly.
What question are we on next? Let's see. Scott wants to know, in government contracting, are there more incentives for woman-owned or veteran-owned businesses in doing business with the government?
That's a great question. Historically, they have just been different percentages. And Sharon can jump in here. Well, anyone can jump in here and correct me if I'm wrong. I think the set asides were at 1.5% for women-owned small business and maybe 10 or 15 for SDVOSB. They're very small percentages, but they do differ for the different types of certifications that there are.
So yeah, I can jump in. So
Go
for
ahead.
for federal contracting, 23% of all business is set aside for small business. So even if you don't have a certification in any of the like 8A woman owned, hub zone, or service disabled veteran owned, there's still that 23%. So there is a 5% set aside for 8A companies, 5% for woman owned, 3% for service disabled veteran owned, and 3% for hub zone. But
Okay.
certifications are just a tool. They aren't a guarantee of a contract.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Jill. And that's really important because a lot of times companies may want to lead with the certifications or really think that the certifications are what they need in order to operate and do business with the federal government. So great point. Thank you, Jill.
Yes.
Um, all right. Cynthia wants to know, how do we find these bigger businesses? And I believe if you're looking to maybe look for a mentor or look for a joint venture partner, how would they find these larger companies?
Okay, that's a great question too. So the easiest answer is for the Mentor Protege program. If you're looking for a mentor, there is an approved list of mentors. I know that the Air Force has one. I know that the Army has one. So there are mentors have to be approved before they can mentor. So there are specific lists of mentors for that program. For joint ventures or just getting into subcontracting, that's going to be a little bit more legwork on your part. That's going to be finding a business that you complement or that complements you, and then reaching out to them, finding out if they do government contracting. Likewise, you can just go and search for specifically government involved businesses. But this is where a lot of us tell you that government contracting is a lot about relationships. And so, unfortunately, there's not really a great place for me to point to and say, here, this is where you can meet those businesses that can help you. This is where you get into looking for those networking opportunities and looking for anywhere that you can meet other small businesses or slightly larger businesses that you can partner with. And that can be things like our matchmaker that I was talking about before. Check out some of your local partners, not just Apex Accelerators, but check in with your Minority Business Assistance Center or MBAC. You can also check in with your SBDC or Small Business Development Center, because both of those partner organizations, in addition to Apex, offer networking and group activities where you can network and meet people in bigger businesses or similar businesses and build partnering relationships that way.
All right. We have like three more questions we'll get through, and then we'll allow
Okay.
Danielle to get back to her presentation. But these are really great
Um,
questions, and
Shonda,
I'm glad we're
could I speak really quickly to what
absolutely.
Danielle was just talking about? Another really good place to network and find other businesses that you might be able to joint venture with would be your local chamber of commerce. They have a lot of networking events, and that's another fantastic place.
Great point, Sharon. And in addition to that, any networking events that we partner with the Apex Accelerator, we'll put in a little plug. We partner with the Apex Accelerator and do a lot of networking events. We had one in December with our annual holiday event. We have one coming up in March, where we're going to feature several different agencies. Um, and it will be an opportunity for you to network not just with the agencies, but also with other small businesses. So if you want to check that out, definitely encourage you to attend the networking events. All
Where is
right.
that one going to be, Shanda?
That one is going to be on, and I'm going to ask Jill to help me out because I can't look. Is it March 18th?
It's March 19th, the State
March 8th.
Library of Ohio, and I think the registration for it is on the Ohio Apex Accelerator website already. If
Yeah,
you
and
go
we
to
can,
the home screen of the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University, I saw Sharon posted that. I don't remember what the time was on that.
can you
Um,
get the link, Jill, and post it in the chat
yeah, let me see. I will
for
do that.
that?
Oh,
Or I can do it after, because I'm gonna turn it over to you in a minute. I can put it in there.
no, I can, yeah, I'll do it
Okay.
quickly.
All right, great.
Oh,
Thank you. All right, real quick. Stacy saying that she is a woman-owned small business, veteran-owned small business, and has the VBE certification, I believe, for the state. Is there a location for a list of all available certifications, so that we maximize all that we qualify for?
the best thing to do for that is going to be looking up Ohio State certification. Sorry, my dog is wanting some attention right now. But look up the socioeconomic certifications for the state. Um, Normally I would plug the Apex Accelerator for that, but those state certifications are actually a metric for our Minority Business Assistance Center partners. So if you want to look for state certification, um, check out the Ohio Department of Development website. That's where you can find the information on how to qualify for the state certifications and look for the applications there. Um, Locally, the MBAC person that does state certifications is Danielle Thompson in the Cincinnati area. She's great. For state certifications, I'll help you out with that. But you can find out all about them at the SBA website. For certifications, I believe it's mycertifications.sba.gov. I could have that wrong. Um, but there they will also have all the information on how to qualify, how many different certifications there are. And lastly, for localities, for myself, Cincinnati and Hamilton County, they recognize the state certifications. So they also have MBE, WBE, and VBE opportunities in the local areas that might use state certification for those specific set asides and goals.
Okay, great. We'll take these last two questions from Ruthie and Scott, and then we'll allow Danielle to get back to her presentation. And again,
Okay.
if your question hasn't been answered, then we'll take it at the very end once she gets finished with the entire slide deck.
And
Ruthie wants to know, this is a great question. For past performance examples, how recent should projects be? Within the last 5 years, within the last 10 years? What would you recommend?
that is a great question. So usually I always forget the verbiage, but it's supposed to be recent and relevant past performance. So I'm going to tell you that the experience that you're putting on your capability statement probably needs to have happened within the last 3 years. 2 is the preference, but I think you could push it with 3. But it does need to be recent and relevant past performance on your capability statement.
That is great. Also, Scott wants to know, and this is also a great question. If
Mhm.
your business has a few unique offerings or core capabilities, core competencies, would you make a capability statement for each of these core offerings, core competencies separately? Would you have a separate capability statement for each one of them?
That is a fantastic question.
Yeah.
And I would say yes, because it's going to be a rare circumstances, depending on your business, obviously, because a lot of those can be complementary capabilities. So, in that sense, I would almost tell you have one generic one. That's going to be the one that you take with you to matchmakers and networking events. That covers everything that you do. But when you actually start using your capability statements for solicitations, yes, you're going to want to have one for each of your separate capabilities so that you can just go for that specific type of contract. And this is what I meant by a living document. So I would prepare, if I were you, a folder of capability statements, because you're not just going to have one. We had the residential remodeling business. So let's say, for example, you do roofing. So you're going to want to have a roofing capability statement. If you also do rehab, you might want to do a rehab capability statement. And then if you do lawn work, have a lawn work capability statement. So yes, you want to have something for each of the areas that you really excel in, because those will help you really narrow down and go for the solicitations that you want to.
Danielle, great response. Can I add to that?
Mhm.
What Danielle said as far as having the one capability statement that kind of lists everything, kind of like a door opener capability statement where you list all your core competencies, definitely having that. And then also, if an agency is interested and they call you back and say, hey, we want to hear more about your residential, commercial, construction, whatever the core competency is, then you can do a specific capability briefing that just highlights that specific core competency or area. And then that briefing you can take to the agency. And then, as Danielle said, definitely have a folder so that you can have those briefings in those specific documents for that specific core competency area.
Yes, I want to boot stamp the capability briefing that
Yeah.
really emphasize that. And it doesn't have to be really intense. It can be 3 slides and you just talk about your passion for your business with them. But yes, having briefings to go along with your capability statements is a great call.
Yes, and I'm going to add just that's another great way to follow up with an Apex Accelerator counselor, work with them to know, hey, what do I need to add? What do I need to put in my capability briefing so that you know that you're not adding too much and you're not, it's not too long, but definitely working with your Apex Accelerator to kind of customize and craft the best document that you can use. All right,
And
go
last
ahead.
plug that I will give is here in the Cincinnati area, I do a quarterly hour-long class strictly about capability statements. Regretfully, it is only in person, so this will be for any of my members that are in the area or anyone that would like to come to Cincinnati for one of those. I will send out the information for it, but I do complete capability statement classes if anyone is interested in those.
Wow, I did not know that. Thank you for mentioning. I can definitely refer some people your way. And if you do that monthly, I think that's a great offer.
Quarterly, but
Quarterly. All
yes.
right, wonderful. I That's all we'll take right now, and then we'll allow Danielle to go to the next part of the slides.
All right. So now we're going to touch briefly on cybersecurity in government contracting. So, first of all, what is it? This quote really goes over it as succinctly as I think anything can. Really, the whole cybersecurity, cyber hygiene issue is how you and your computers in your business handle secure government information. So, cybersecurity matters because it's necessary in all types of industries. Basically, anywhere that you don't want information leaking from needs to have cybersecurity. So, obviously, medical, financial, government, energy and utilities, even your auto information, these are all places where you need some sort of cybersecurity. It's important to know that the risk of being unprepared for a cyber attack can be incredibly costly. These are a little bit older statistics, but it can still show that a breach can be incredibly costly. That is not to diminish or not admit that cybersecurity is going to be a cost for your business, depending on the level that you go to. But cybersecurity compliance can be a great differentiator for you, at least now when things are getting kicked off. Later, because contracts are starting to require cybersecurity, and some of them already do, you may have to get cybersecurity compliant before you can actually get those contracts. Now, what actually goes into the CMMC labels? So, as it says here, basic federal contract information is your level 1 security. And that is really just for things that obviously federal contract information is public as far as the SAM announcement goes. Some of the documents on SAM are also going to be public, but when you get into the actual, if you are awarded the contract, there's going to be specific information in how you handle that contract and information you need to perform that contract that needs to be protected. So that's going to be your basic level 1. Level 2, CUI, has been mentioned a lot in the industry here lately. That is controlled unclassified information. So it's still not classified, but it is absolutely not public. So this is more information where you need to have protections in place on your computer systems to protect that data. And that can get into things like if you're a machine shop and you are machining a specific part for the government, then the schematics and diagrams for that part are going to be more than likely controlled unclassified information, and that will require you to have a level 2 certification. Level 3 is an incredibly high sensitivity data level. And from everything that I've read, that's going to be around 1% of the companies doing business with the government that have to have that level 3 certification. So for small businesses, we're really focusing on level 1 and level 2. So the requirements for each level. So level 1 and level 2 can both be self-certifications. Level 2, you can also go through a third party and they will help you get what you need. So level 1 has 15 required FAR clauses, or 15 requirements in the FAR clause that's listed. The assessment is conducted by the business itself, and the results are entered into SPRS, or the Supplier Performance Risk System. That step is usually performed by businesses themselves. They can get assistance from the Apex Accelerator and from the Ohio Department of Development. As you can see here, level 2 has 110 requirements under the NISTSP 800-171. And you have to do that assessment every 3 years. And your results will be entered into that SPRS system again. Your CMMC data status will be valid for 3 years. And then you will have to do that reassessment after. And then it shows you what you need for a third-party certifier. And then there is information that you can look at when the slides come out about what to do about level 3. So the last thing I want to bring up is the Cybersecure Program overview. This is a program offered by the Ohio Department of Development, and it can help you get through level 1. And if your assessment professional determines you need level 2, they can also help you through the level 2 CMMC work. So these are the steps for the program. You there to apply and learn if you qualify for the program. Step 2, once you've been accepted to the program, you'll receive some prerequisite training that you have 30 days to complete. And that's required for everybody that goes through the Cybersecurity program. Next up, you're going to have a meeting. Your Apex counselor or your SBDC counselor will be contacted along with you to set up the kickoff meeting. Your counselor may or may not attend. It is not mandatory, but they may be in that kickoff meeting with you. Then you'll go through the consultation services with that third party to, at the very least, figure out your level 1 self-assessment, and then you'll have to enter the results of that self-assessment for level 1 into SPRS. And then finally, there is a closeout meeting where everything is gone over. And I apologize, that is the end of my CMMC slides, but I know that there are going to be questions, and I am probably going to lean on all of my partners in the room to answer them.
Yeah, CMMC is not my strongest suit. We do have a question from Beth. What would healthcare information be classified as?
Well, healthcare information is going to be protected first by HIPAA, obviously. But the CMMC part comes if you are, let's say, for example, you're handling information for the Veterans Administration. So at that point, I would say, especially since you're dealing with potentially service member and retired service member medical records, I'm guessing that's going to require level 2. Especially if any of that information is housed on your computers. So that's something to think about with CMMC. All of this relates to how your business handles these classifications of information. So what you need to think about is, especially if you are a 1 or 2 person shop, you're essentially looking at protecting the one computer or the one server. Basically anything that touches that government information is what you need to make sure falls under CMMC. So let's say that you have employees that do your administrative work that are never going to touch any part of the contract. Those computers don't necessarily have to fall under your CMMC plan. It is just the items that hold the government data that you're working with that have to fall under these CMMC requirements. I hope that helps.
Can you go back to the prior slide?
Yes.
For somebody that wanted to see that. Is the Cybersecurity program free? Is another
Yes,
question.
the Cybersecurity program is free.
Okay, and Sharon just answered that. It's offered through the state of Ohio.
Yes.
And is offered at no cost.
Yes.
Is there a federal classification process?
Ooh.
Beth,
I'm not sure. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I'm not sure. You mean for CMMC, Beth, or maybe just expand on that question a little bit?
So I will say if she's talking about CMMC, there is a federal classification for levels 1, 2, and 3. Levels 1 and 2 can be self-certified, but then there's also a level 2 that you need to be certified by a third party, and then level 3 is all third party certification. and it depends on the agency and the RFP that you're responding to and what those requirements are. And you'll know if you're in one of, you'll know eventually, I guess, because this is new, so it's still rolling out. But you will know what level and if it's a self-certification or not that you can have. The Cybersecure program with the state can assist you in self-certification through level 2. But they do not do nor do we have any assistance for the third party certification. That's you have to pay somebody to come in and do that. So that is a part of a level 2 and is level 3. So it's very confusing, but I hope that helps a little bit.
And Sharon and Danielle, when they're researching RFPs for federal contracts, the RFP should say what level of CMMC, if I'm correct in understanding.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's our understanding, correct.
Okay. So Beth expanded and said she's looking for like a federal classification process for medical device software companies. And I think that goes back to what Danielle was saying. If you're going to be working like in the VA with service members, and then there would be the HIPAA
Michelle,
rules.
or I'm sorry, Beth, are you the AED company that I'm talking to?
And you can unmute yourself. No, she's not.
Okay, okay. I apologize. I thought for a minute you might have been the medical device I talked last week with someone about. With medical devices, if you are just providing those, I think again, if you're going to be hypothetically, let's say that you're a subcontractor for the VA. Let's say that you deal in CPAP equipment. It's a durable medical good I know about. In my understanding, you would just probably be receiving either the prescription or the paperwork that says that the veteran is getting that medical equipment. And so it would basically be any of the contract information that you would hold, whether it was the service members' information or any of their prescription information for that medical device, anything that falls under the umbrella of the contract that you've been contracted to perform, any in that is going to be subject to CMMC. I hope that clarifies at least a little for you.
She said thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, CMMC is as clear as mud, and
Yeah.
it's been around for a couple years. They didn't it's had
Wasn't a
multiple
great
iterations.
rollout.
No, it hasn't been. Mm-mm.
And then they keep redoing it and changing some of the things. So we will, as we know information, get it to you. That's really the best promise we can make in this environment.
And again, the first two levels are self assessments, and there is assistance with that, as Sharon and Danielle were talking about.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Is that through Ohio State, Sharon? The or state of Ohio? Isn't there? I think there's also something at Ohio State for.
Yeah,
It's my understanding that Ohio State had something, but their grant may have been impacted. I think I just heard something about
Okay.
that, but don't quote me. The program we're talking about, the specific cybersecure program, developed.
I don't want to add to the confusion.
Oh, no, you're fine.
All right, that's all the current questions.
Sounds good. Unfortunately, nobody really understands the CMMC thing completely. So, but reach out to your Apex Accelerator or any of us if you have any questions, and we will find someone that can answer your question. All right. So we're going to move into increasing competitiveness through teaming. And we're going to kind of zip through these. So the first one we're going to talk about is joint venture agreements. And those are where you can team with another small business or a slightly larger business. And this is one of the things we were talking about. You're going to be sharing costs and resources. So it takes some of that burden off of you. And just as a side note to that, with government contracting, I don't know if it was brought up in the previous session, but something you're going to want to make sure is that you have the operating capital to keep your business open while you're waiting for payment from the federal government. The federal government usually has term 30-day payment terms, but keep in mind that depending on how the contract is set up, you may have to wait for the work to be performed, for the invoice to be created, getting the invoice to the federal government in the correct way, and then waiting the 30 days for payment. So there are a lot of things that go into contracting. And because you can share costs and resources, that just brought into my mind that you need to be able to keep your doors open while you're waiting for that government contract to come through. And then there's a note here at the bottom about the 8A contracts. So joint venture rules. So there's some limitations on subcontracting. Pay no more than 50% of the amount paid by the government to non-similarly situated firms for service contracts. Pay no more than 50% of the amount paid by the government to non.
Do you mean to forward a slide?
Oh, haha, yes.
Gotcha.
So these are kind of what you can look at in terms of some of the rules that you're going to face. I'm not familiar with special trade contracts, which is listed at the bottom with the 75%, but you can see that 85% is the ceiling for construction contracts, 50% for products, and 50% for services. So joint venture performance of work. The protege, see, now I'm mixing things.
No, that's okay. Well, I don't mind talking about this. And you're doing a great job though. And just so everyone knows, Shonda and I work together in the SBA Columbus District office. So I work with firms, I primarily work with firms that are certified in the 8A program, but I work with teaming and joint venturing questions all the time. So a joint venture agreement would be an excellent way to increase your capabilities as a small business when you're doing business with the federal government, because you're competing against the giants of industry. So I like to say that federal government contracting is an opportunity for you to, instead of seeing other companies in your industry as competitors, as instead see them as possible teaming partners. So a couple of these slides got us a little bit into the weeds in terms of limitations on subcontracting. That comes from the Code of Federal Regulations. We aren't going to it just is important when you're forming a joint venture agreement to understand that it's a separate legal entity. So it's a relationship between you and another business where you file a separate tax ID number, a separate SAM registration, a separate bank account, all of those things, because it's a completely separate company. And joint ventures can be used to bid on contracts. And I see it a lot between two businesses. For example, they could be, one of them is a small business. As long as that small business owns the joint venture agreement by 51%, then that joint venture can be used to bid on small business contracts. So that's kind of the benefit of it. And the same thing works if it's a small business that also happens to be HubZone or also happens to be service disabled veteran owned. That that 51% owner of the joint venture, regardless of or whatever federal certifications they have. You can be you can bid on those contracts. So if it's a 51% owned and controlled by a small business who is service disabled, that joint venture can be used to bid on small business service disabled veteran owned small business contracts.
And once you've formed that separate entity, I believe, Jill, correct me if I'm wrong, you're limited to 6 contracts with that joint venture?
So the rules for joint venture agreements is the joint venture has 2 years from the date of its first contract award to bid on additional work. There used to
Okay.
be a rule where there was a limit to the number of contracts that joint venture could have. Now it's a time limit. So
Okay.
it's 2 years from the date of your first contract award. And then I mean, a lot of businesses will just form a second joint venture, which the rules allow. So if you've had like 6 contracts under a first joint venture agreement and the relationship is still strong, you could form a second joint venture with the same partners.
Yep.
And I see a question, Kara wants to know, what's the difference between a competitive contract versus a sole source contract?
Okay. A competitive contract means that you are openly competing with other businesses for the opportunity. A sole source contract is when it has been determined that one business is the only business that provides the service or product that the government is looking for. And so they have contracted specifically with that business or organization for that service or product because no one else offers it.
And I can add within that, so there is sole source authority within the federal certification programs. So what I mean by federal certification programs, I mean within 8A, HubZone, women-owned small business, and veteran-owned small business. There is sole source authority. That means that contracting officers, if they determine that there is no other qualified candidate that can perform a contract and they happen to have that certification, then the contracting officer can award a sole source contract within certain dollar thresholds to either HubZone, 8A, woman-owned, or service disabled veteran-owned. So there's some differences in the rules between those 4 certifications. So for example, 8A contracting officers don't have to have like a justification and approval to award a sole source contract. But for the other 3, they do have to have. So that's one way that sole source works. And then there's another, just with a J&A, they can do it, a justification and approval, but that's a contracting action. So competitive contracts, like 8A is divided into competitive contracts or sole source. If it's a competitive contract, it would show up on sam.gov, but be limited just to 8A candidates. Same thing, there are woman-owned small business set-asides. That means that it's only, like when you look on sam.gov, it would mean that the contract is limited only to woman-owned small business. Same thing for 8A, for HubZone.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to jump ahead here to
Wait, there's, yeah,
oh,
sorry.
nope, you're fine.
What happens if the joint venture wins a 5-year contract award? Are they able to, yes, Kara, that's a good question. So there's a difference. So when you look at a 5-year contract, so there are option years on each contract, but as long as the contractor was in good standing at the time of award, they are able to be, the option years will also go to them, even if they have since graduated from 8A, or for example, if they're no longer woman-owned, those option years are still, because you were in good standing at the time of award of the contract.
And I hate to do this, but because we're coming up
Yep.
close, I'm going to go ahead and speed through the mentor protege things, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more time for questions at the end. because these aren't a ton of slides. So with the SBA Mentor Protege Program, you're going to pair with experienced mentors. Again, the mentors have already been approved and exist on lists that I believe we can email to you if you would like them. I would have to find them first. But you'll pair with an experienced mentor. Just like with the joint venture, you're building capacity. So you'll be able to do more. You can also, I think Jill touched upon this, you can have a mentor protege joint venture and use the protege status for those set asides. Some of the benefits, you can get guidance on internal business management systems. You can learn how the big business manages all of their things. You get assistance navigating contract bidding, acquisition, and the federal procurement process. So really, it's almost like a crash course in government contracting while actually doing the contracting. And then that bottom one, I also like that one because you also get general and administrative assistance like human resource sharing or security clearance support. Program qualifications. To be a protege, you must be a small business with industry experience. Let's see. I believe, yes, you can find the small business size standards. Those are based on your NAICS code. So what a janitorial small business looks like is going to be different than what a construction small business size standard looks like. To be a mentor, the business must be organized for profit or as an agricultural co-op, need to be able to carry out its responsibilities to assist the protege. Jill might have to speak to what possessing good character is, but that is also one of the qualifications and not appear on the list of debarred or suspended contractors.
Yeah, that's really what good character is. You can't be debarred.
I was thinking so.
Yeah, and this again, this is for the SBA Mentor Protege Program. There's different Mentor Protege programs by agency, but
Yes.
this one is for SBA specifically.
Yes. Then we have other MPP notes. It is not a matchmaker. The applicant protege must apply with an identified prospective mentor. They may not be affiliated at the time of the application. Both businesses must have an active SAM registration. And, oh, this is where I got the 6 years. The program lasts up to 6 years from the date of the SBA approval. And then, so key takeaways. Procurement readiness is credibility. Cybersecurity is mandatory. And teaming increases competitiveness. There's my information for, oh, let me catch up to that. There is my information for anyone in the Cincinnati area. Again, that's Butler, Hamilton, Warren, Clinton, and Claremont counties. And if you don't know your Apex representative, you can send me an email there and I will be happy to tell you who it is. So now we can use the rest of our time for any of the other questions that we have time for.
Okay, so is there a way to educate people that Beth would like to know who have sole source bids to look at another device? And I think, Beth, are you referring to like the customer? So if the customer currently has a sole source bid, how do you get in with the customer to let them know about your product?
It's more not the customer, but whoever is creating like the federal bid. So if they're putting out, yes, the customer, I guess, who, if someone's putting out a request for people to bid, right? And it's sole sourced, how do we educate them to say it shouldn't be sole source? We have other,
So
applications.
this is a great question. As an Apex rep, what I would suggest is when you are doing your market research, there is a website called USA Spending, all one word, .gov. And you can find out about existing contracts on that website and who holds them. And there are a bunch of different ways that you can break down the information that you're searching for in usaspending.gov. And what you can do there is you can find contracts, even sole source ones, that are coming up on their end date. And on the off chance that they might want to renew that contract or recompete when that date comes due, you can find that contracting officer and start reaching out to them via email or phone call with a very well prepared email or pitch, and let them know, I see that this was sole source competed or sole source awarded. I am in the government space now, and I would like the opportunity to compete for this bid. So that is absolutely doable, and there are resources to help make it easier for you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Kimberly's asking, we have a relationship with Ohio Apex Accelerator. Is it advantageous to have a mentor with SBA?
Oh, absolutely, because we handle totally different things. Because keep in mind that while a lot of these programs are with the SBA is there to help you as a small business, period. Even if you are at the beginning, not even looking at government contracting, keep in mind that the SBDC is there for you to look for small business loans if you need loans to get things started. They can help you look at things like your accounting system. How is your business set up? Your whole business plan. They can help you with things outside the government contracting space. Apex accelerators, we can help with a lot of general things, but our core function is for the government contracting space, whether at the local, state, or federal level. Our wheelhouse is government contracting. The SBDC can help you with government contracting, but their focus is on you as the small business. So that's from cradle to grave, so to speak, for your small business. Whereas we are cradle to grave for government contracting process.
And the SBDC, or Small Business Development Center, is the counseling arm of SBA. And they
Sorry, I
have,
didn't make that clear.
no, that's okay. There's centers, SBDC centers all over the country, and their services are free. Michael asked, how does one connect to mentor? I think, yeah, how does one find a mentor? I've tried, and email, calls showed up. Companies seem not interested in talking.
That is a tough one because, of course, one of the frustrations that can come along with government contracting is trying to get someone to listen. And let's be honest, with the changing landscape, it's just in some cases just more difficult to get a hold of a person. But perseverance, that's one of the things, especially with government contracting. You just have to be prepared to persevere, and just be persistent. Because, oh, go ahead, Jill.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I just wanted to add, no, that's true. And we try to offer networking and training events like in person throughout the year for you to organically meet each other. Like for the SBA Mentor Protege Program, SBA does not identify mentors for proteges or proteges for mentors. It's not a matchmaking type of situation. And over the years, when I've met with businesses that I thought would be great connections with each other, they don't necessarily, because the back office culture matters a lot, a lot. So you have to have like a one-on-one organic conversations, like the Ohio Business Matchmaker. I put the link in the chat for that event. That is our biggest event of the year, and that is an opportunity. Like on the first night of the Matchmaker, which is April 22nd, we do like a reception, a business to business reception, And that's just for businesses to talk to each other, whether it's through with the intent of teaming, whether it's through a joint venture agreement or a mentor agreement. That's that's the purpose of that type of reception. But also, a great mentor is like a business that's already doing business with the federal government. And a lot of times, as a small business, if you come to them with a project in mind, like you have to have something to offer a mentor. Your certification status isn't enough. Like you have to have some knowledge of government contracting when you're trying to approach someone. So having a project in mind helps. But we'll keep going. It's 11:26. What does it mean to be affiliated? I think Kara's asking that. So affiliation could be based on common ownership. If you've subcontracted for a company, no, they can still be your mentor. Yeah, there's got to be like a clear line of fracture. They can be your mentor. Yeah. I've seen a lot of businesses that subcontracted to companies that eventually become their mentors. So that is allowed, and as a short answer. The recording, we were asking that. Sharon answered that. Cynthia saying USA spending, you advise that is all the information free on this site? Yes,
Yes.
because okay.
usaspending.gov is the site where all government spending information is posted. So it's a blessing and a curse because it is all of the financial information of the federal government out there for you to search through. Something to keep in mind, it is free. But if you find yourself getting lost in the weeds, again, reach out to someone to help you with the site. It doesn't require any login credentials or anything. You can just go out there and play.
I
I
see
promise you
we've
won't break it.
yeah, and but just another plug for Apex, like get scheduled with your Apex Accelerator counselor. This is I know most of you get super excited about USA spending. You get excited so they don't have to. It's just like I get excited about the CFR so nobody else has to. Yay, rules. So and Danielle, I saw you put the link for DoD mentors, and again, that is a separate program from the SBA Mentor Protege program, and the DoD. This is it. That's only for DoD contracts. Like SBA Mentor Protege is across the federal government.
Yes.
Can you work with just one side or Apex? I think, Mark, are you asking if you can only work with one Apex Accelerator counselor?
Yes.
Great question. So here in Ohio, we are going to have you work specifically with the counselor in your geographic area. However, we all are subject matter experts on different things because government contracting is so very siloed that it would be literally impossible for one of us to know everything, although there are a couple of us that try. But yes, we will pull in our colleagues to help with any issue we're not familiar with. Brings up another great question, though. For example, being an Ohio representative for Apex, I am versed in Ohio state contracting, federal contracting, and then my 5 little county area for local contracting. Let's say, especially in my area, there's a lot of crossover because Cincinnati essentially has a suburban area across the Ohio River in Covington, Kentucky. And so we have a lot of clients that are scooting that border back and forth between Kentucky business and Ohio business. And what we try to do, at least in that sense, is I have my clients reach out to the Kentucky Apex Accelerator to let them know that they're interested in doing business on the Kentucky government side. And then we leave it up to the counselor if they want to become involved or not. So I have clients in Ohio that do business in Kentucky that are my clients, and I have clients that are located in Kentucky doing business in Ohio that are still Kentucky clients. So it really is just making sure that everybody that might be aware in the contract environment that who you're working with. So let's say that I set you up for an email where you're receiving suggested possible contracts. And for the state and local contracts, you're getting recommendations for, say, California, Texas, Virginia. I am probably going to recommend, if you want to pursue one of those, that you reach out to the Apex Accelerator in that state, because I'm not going to be as versed in helping with those state registration systems, if they exist, than those Apex accelerators. So it's really about Apex Accelerator now.
It's like my favorite government response of "it depends."
Right?
Yeah. Then Sharon's expanding on your response to Mark. All right. I would say if you're available, thank you so much, Danielle. This has been
Oh,
great.
of course.
We're 2 minutes over time, so
Sorry
we'll
about
go
that.
ahead and start winding down. This has been fantastic. I love it when there's so many questions, because then you realize, there's still a lot of information that needs to
Oh,
be
absolutely.
needs to get out there. Our next webinar training with Apex between SBA and Apex Accelerator is February 11th. It is doing business with the state of Ohio. We'll have James Yagodich, who is, I think he's a training chief at for Ohio Buys. He's very, very good. So if you have questions about Ohio Buys, he's definitely that training on February 11th will be very valuable to you.
Hey, Jill, can you
Yes.
send me the link for that?
Yes, ma'am. Sure can.
Thank you.
And with that, Sharon, I think that we can stop recording. And
And me, please.
well, if you go